one of the top people in the world of unscripted television. The list of credits is long. She's had her own production company for over a decade. And one of those shows, a little thing for MTV, called Jersey Shore. Turned out to be a big pop culture phenomenon. One of her latest works is Freak Out on ABC Family. It wraps up its first season tomorrow night. And another one of her latest works is one of the first game shows she's attempted. It's the first one that we know of that takes place on a boat. It's called Pontoon Payday, premiered a few weeks ago on country music television, CMT. Let's go down to the boat right now and meet the host. You may remember him from Street Smarts and more recently, The Game of Life on the Hub, Frank Nicotero.
Who wants to win money? We're taking some fearless partygoers straight from the party onto our pontoon.
You missed space.
This is the Ambush Trivia Game Show that's taking over summer's wettest and wildest hotspots. We're looking for the craziest partiers. Woo! If they can answer some trivia questions, they can win some cold, hard cash. If you get 3 right, you win $500. How long is a fortnight? What is the official language of Brazil?
Portuguese.
Yes! Oh, whoa. But miss too many, and they'll face a punishment. In the Harry Potter series, name the 4 houses.
Malroy, Dumbledore, Portia de Rossi, and Ellen DeGeneres.
Who is next in order of succession to be President of the United States?
It goes Biden, and then Michelle, and then the kids.
Believe it or not, those are not correct answers. This punishment is called pontoon protein. Go! Come on.
Oh, you eat that.
Go.
I think what's alive in my tummy.
John. Your punishment is called drunk artist. Grady's going right across.
What? Did I win?
God! You look great. It's called the shocker. Oh! This is the craziest, most insane game show you'll ever see.
Yeah!
You guys are coming on the show now?
Yeah.
So, what's my name again? Frank.
Hey.
That's Chris. Oh,
Yeah, look at that.
Yeah.
So grab your bikinis, your board shorts, your brains, and your booze, because this is Pontoon Payday. Hey, you guys, I think that guy's dead. Oh, his leg moved. Oh, thank God he saw that.
And joining us live from Los Angeles, executive producer SallyAnn Salsano. Hello, SallyAnn. Welcome in.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
You too. Tell me about this boat gig you got for CMT.
I got to tell you, it is literally crazier than crazy. I love it more than anything. I mean, where else do you go that you get a chance to answer the questions, and if you don't, we just toss you back in the water? It's literally like being a bad fish on the line. It's really fun.
How did this project come your way? I believe this is the first game show, one of the first you've attempted in your unscripted television jaunts.
It is. We did a show back in the day for Spike called Repo Games, which was also a little bit off-kilter, if you will. But this one was basically like, you know, you're thinking about game shows, you're thinking about the culture and what people are doing. And, like, when it becomes summertime, the minute it gets warm, in any area, there is, like, a big party community that takes place on the water. And I don't think it's ever been showcased quite like this or at all. And we were basically like, let's just take a boat. Let's go up and down, you know, in this case we went to Lake Havasu, and ask people who probably have been partying all day if they want to win $500. I bet you there's very little they won't do. And we were right.
And you also picked up someone who has become sort of one of the great cult figures of game show hosting, Frank Nicotero. A lot of people still remember him from Street Smarts, which ran several years. Many people saw it on late night television or on WGN America before it became a cable network. And then more recently, he was on Game of Life on the Hub. He's one of those hosts that has a very sort of wild side to him.
Agreed. I love him. I would say he walks amongst his people on this one. He is a host that literally is such a pro, is so funny, and what he thinks of out of his own little brain literally is better than any team of writers can put together. He is just funny and on it at all times.
What do you think about this big new mini movement in game shows? We had 500 questions, which looks like it's done pretty good on ABC so far. Tonight we have the return of Are You Smarter Than a Fifth Grader? Barry Posnick, the executive producer and co-creator, was on our show on Friday. We've got Boom and another show, Bullseye, coming up on Fox. It'll be Fox is premiering Bullseye later this week. What do you make of this return of the game show?
I think it's entertaining. I think that people just like to play along. I feel like every single person in their life thinks that they know everything and always is like, oh, if I was on that show, I would do this. chances are, if you were on that show, you'd be just as bad as some of the people on it. I think sometimes even the simplest information, when put under a pressure cooker, really can, make things more difficult, and I think that this falls under that category.
Going back with Pontoon, was it very easy to get the contestants to go up and down the lake in the boat?
To get them to do what?
To get them to come on the show and go up and down the lake and answer all those questions, or get thrown out of the boat?
It did not take much prodding at all. You would basically, be like, who wants to play? Who wants to play? And people would just be coming at us. Every once in a while, people would be like, I don't know. That would last about 3 seconds. And then one of their friends would be like, oh, my God.
SallyAnn Salsano is one of the top executive producers in the world of unscripted television. Pontoon Payday is currently running every week on CMT, sometimes known as Country Music Television. Another one of her programs is Freak Out, which is wrapping up its first season tomorrow night, 8:30 on ABC Family. We'll talk more about that shortly. And she's got a lot of projects coming up this summer. We'll talk about that as well. Sally's live from Los Angeles this half hour on Tomorrow Be Televised. Simon Applebaum here with you live from a very humid New York City, 85 degrees at the top of the hour. First of 3 episodes we are running this week to wrap up May 2015 here on Blog Talk Radio and also simulcast today on Brooklyn Independent Media. You have a question or comment for SallyAnn, give us a ring, 646-652-2906, or use our chat room, Simon Apple 04 by name, guest 731, and Rick Webb, our friend from Philadelphia, in the room. Special 90-minute edition coming away tomorrow from The Americans, the critically acclaimed series that will win the Peabody Award tomorrow night, this coming Sunday here in New York. We'll have creator and executive producer Joe Weisberg and executive producer Joel Fields. Then rescheduled from early this month, the original music composer of Empire, one of the big success stories on Fox, Phil Eisner. And then tomorrow night on CBS, check this out. 2 families in economic hardship get the same briefcase with more than $100,000 in it. What would you do with it? The briefcase comes from the mind of Dave Broom, the creator of The Biggest Loser, and he'll be with us tomorrow, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, special 90-minute edition, right here on Tomorrow Will Be Televised. SallyAnn, unlike a lot of unscripted producers who sort of focus on one show at a time, you're someone that likes to spread out the goods, if you will. Why do you do that? Why do you decide to do many shows at the same time?
I don't know. I feel like it actually makes you more creative. I feel like, and sometimes they air in a cluster, but we tend to produce them and spread them out over time so we can focus. But I have to be honest, I don't know. I think you take something away from each show. Like, I think, like, in doing a daytime talk show, you're like, oh, my God, it sharpens your skills on timing and moving quickly. Then you go to a hidden camera show, and you're basically, like, working with special effects and, freaking people out and scaring people and producing the unknown, which is actually kind of fun. Then you go to a game show where you're writing questions, where you're trying to get people to give you funny answers. I think it just keeps everything fresh. I think if you're a producer who does one thing, the same thing over and over again, it starts to feel tired and you get in a rut.
Mm-hmm. By the way, I want to welcome Jensen Murray into our chat room. So if you have a question or comment for SallyAnn, give us the ring at 646-652-2906, or use that chat room, Simon Apple 04 by name. Happy to have you aboard. Talk about Freak Out. What was it like to put that together for ABC Family? It
was so fun. I think the level of tricks that we did on that show and special effects is really awesome. I feel like it's, and I don't know what it is or what it says about me that I find it so entertaining to scare, people in their late teens, early 20s, but it is really an enjoyable pastime.
Now, is it sort of like a truth or consequences kind of show where the contestants or the subjects, if you will, get into the freak out and they get pranked or they get pronked, if you will?
I would say it's more of a prank. So basically it would be one of your friends lure you to a location under a totally different pretense, and then the next thing you know, a series of things or something happens that literally completely freaks you out. It either scares you or makes you laugh or, something unbelievable definitely happens, but it is all stuff that is completely visual. There's a very big visual component. We worked with a lot of, magicians, special effects experts. We knocked down a house, set people on fire. I mean, we had one girl thinking all of her hair came out while she was getting a blowout at a salon. There was a ton of stuff that went down on this show that I was glad I was not on the other end of.
How do you develop the pranks? Do you do it with specific contestants or subjects in mind, or it's just a case of you design a whole batch of pranks for a season and whoever is the subject at any given moment gets the prank?
I think you come up with stuff for sure, just like separately, and then as you're casting and you're talking to the people, like, okay, what's your friend like? What is she obsessed with? Oh my God, my friend's totally obsessed with her hair. She's so annoying. Okay, great. Let's make her think her hair is falling out. Like, you play into who the subjects are, and I think that's what actually makes the show better.
And what was it like putting the show together for ABC Family? What's been the reaction? This is a very different show that they've done, and I know that ABC Family is making a big move this summer into unscripted fare.
I think that, listen, we were one of the first, and I think that, like, I think what they're going to do now is try and train their audience or sample their audience to see what they're responding to. It's like, I watch so much ABC Family between Pretty Little Liars. Like, I watch so much stuff, but I think the truth of the matter is it's up to their audience to say, you know, what's next and what do they want to see. And I think it's going to be an interesting summer. I don't know. I love their programming.
What would you say was the wildest freak-out stunt you put together?
We had a girl who thought she was going with a friend to help a teenager, like a teenager that was going through a tough time and was living like kind of in a home with other teens, and she just needed a kid to hang out with. Was like sick of hanging out with adults. And she was like, oh my God, this girl loves music. This girl happens to play the guitar. She whips out her guitar and starts singing. This woman literally started levitating in front of her eyes and like became possessed. And this poor girl that was playing the guitar totally tried to keep her cool and be nice to this girl, but in reality, that girl was completely freaking out. I mean, knocking down a house was huge. Having a girl go to think she's getting her hair blown out, and then the next thing you know, the person next to her starts crying and all her hair is falling out in her hand. I mean, it's pretty fun to watch a teenage girl who's obsessed with their hair lose their mind.
We have a number of websites who are now doing what you might call the inspirational prank show. One of them, Defy Media, has been doing a series for some time now called Prank It Forward, where the idea is you do a prank or a flash mob type exercise, which leads to something very special happening in that person's life. Maybe the reunion with a lost loved one. Maybe it's getting themselves out of an economic rut. Maybe it's getting the opportunity to go to college where it didn't present itself before. Whistle Sports is now doing a inspirational prank show. What do you think about this direction of taking what used to be the Ashton Kutcher punk? And I remember that I mentioned that because at one point you were involved with MTV in a major way. What do you think about this movement toward going from a general punked prank show to one that has some inspirational tendencies?
I actually think it's nice, and I actually think there's room for it, and I think it will work. I think that there's a mixed bag of, I think people always think that people like to see just the bad, and I think a lot of people tune in to watch a lot of great, a lot of good things happen to people, and I think it's also important because I think a lot of the good actually goes unnoticed.
SallyAnn Salsano, one of the top executive producers in the world of unscripted television. She is our guest live this half hour on Tomorrow Be Televised, joining us from Los Angeles. Simon Applebaum with you live from New York. Some of her credits include Freak Out, which wraps up its first season tomorrow night at 8:30 Eastern Pacific on ABC Family, and Party Down South, which not only continues on Country Music Television, CMT, but has a sequel, if you will, coming up this summer. We'll talk about that shortly. You have a question or comment for SallyAnn? Give the ring, 646-652-2906, or here's our chat room, Simon Apple 04 by name. Next Monday on Tomorrow Be Televised, rescheduled from earlier this month, the sidekick of Wayne Brady on Let's Make a Deal and Whose Line Is It Anyway on the CW, Jonathan Magnum will be one of our guests. Jonathan Magnum from Let's Make a Deal and Whose Line Is It Anyway? Next Monday at our regular time, 3 p.m. Eastern, noon Pacific, right here on Tomorrow Be Televised. Do many of the ideas for your shows come in-house, or do you, let's say, from time to time accept an independent producer's proposal?
I'm sorry, say that again. You cut out.
Oh, sorry about that. Do you do a lot of your development for shows in-house, or from time to time do you take a proposal from an independent producer?
I would say most of our stuff comes from in-house, but we definitely take pitches from outside. We're super selective because we are people that only focus on a couple of things. So we tend to, we don't want to say yes to. There are some people that say yes to everything, throw a bunch of crap against the wall and see what hits. I think we're more methodical about it because we want to be very hands-on. So we tend to be a little more selective than most.
So give me a sense of the selectivity you apply. What kind of unscripted shows do you like doing? And when do you decide, okay, let's stretch ourselves out and try something different?
I think that we're always trying to find something different rather than stay in a wheelhouse. But I will tell you, a lot of times, like, it's so frustrating as a reality producer because you get these things of, like, here's what we're looking for, here's what we're not looking for. No one really knows what they're looking for until they hear it. So I think I operate the same way. Like, a network was not coming to me going, hey, I want 8 Guidos in a house, make one of them named Snooki. Like, no one was going to buy that show, and then you put it in front of people, and they're like, I want that. So sometimes I think, we're the same way as producers. People come into us, and, we'll say, what are you looking for? What is it? It's like, well, what do you have? Like, bring us stuff, and then we'll tell you if it's different, because I think if you're just starting out and you're creating shows, I feel like you are so focused on, like, this is different, and you're using what's on TV to say this is a different version of this. And most people don't want a different version of something. They want something that's completely fresh, and that's the hardest thing to find.
Well, you have at least three.
Jersey Shore, there were so many Jersey shows. There was Jerseylicious, Jersey Couture. There was everything under the sun, but the first time out, it was a lot harder.
And, of course, it was the first time out that became the longest running of them all.
Right. But then everyone wants their own version of. So by doing a ripoff or a copycat, you could actually get business and be successful, but it's just hardest to break through when you're actually doing something completely new.
We're going to take a call in a moment, but you have a couple of shows coming out this summer. One of them is a fascinating one, at least by title. It's called, I believe, Blue Collar Billionaires, and it's coming up on CNBC.
Yeah, it's Blue Collar Millionaires. And bottom line is what it is if you think about it, like, you see all these people all the time. You see people with their great big fancy life, fancy car, fancy vacations, and you're like, God, what does that guy do for a living? Must be a doctor, a lawyer, whatever. No, or maybe he runs a porta potty company. Maybe he's actually a landscaper. And it's basically built off of the American dream in a way that if you just get in there and work hard, it can actually pay off. And it's about people that literally have the most blue-collar jobs, but because of how they went about it, were kind of relentless, actually turned it into a multi-million-dollar franchise for themselves.
All right, SallyAnn, we got a call, and we're going to take it. Hello, you're on Tomorrow Be Televised. What's your name, and where are you calling from?
Hi, Simon. It's Rick Webb calling from Philadelphia.
Rick, good to have you. SallyAnn Salsano is on the line with you.
Hi, SallyAnn.
Hey there.
Seems like a lot of your shows would be a tough sell to networks because some of them are kind of out of the box, like Jersey Shore, or like you said before, there already are other prank shows and such. I guess my question is, do you need to put the expense on yourself and actually pre-shoot some of these shows, like rent a boat and go do the game show out on a pontoon to prove it to a network or a buyer that it actually works? Like, how do you go through that process?
Yeah, there is a lot. I think back in the day when reality first started, you used to be able to go in with a piece of paper with stuff written down black and white, and now it's a whole different ball game. It is, they expect so much up front to prove the concept, because I think there are a lot of producers that can put something together or make something sound good, but the proof is actually in the pudding. And I think now more and more networks are expecting more and more before giving the green light. And I think it's because actually there's more and more people, reality companies, and there's more and more networks, and people are a little bit gun shy, and people are afraid to basically, they don't get a lot. Like, the networks are cutting back on budgets and money, and, you don't want to be the network executive that bought the show that doesn't work. So they need it for their sense of, mind to go in there and actually prove it.
Cool. Well, thank you, SallyAnn, and continued success, and Freak Out looks pretty funny.
All right, thank you.
Take care, and thanks, Simon.
You're very welcome, Rick. Take it easy out there. Rick Webb, our good friend from Philadelphia, here on Tomorrow Be Televised. Now, SallyAnn, you've got a spin-off show of Party Down South coming up this summer. Tell us about that one for CMT.
Well, I think it's Party Down South 2 that you're talking about. We're hitting our second season of the spin-off, Party Down South 2. And that's basically, it's really entertaining. It's a different batch of kids. It's on now every Thursday night. It's currently happening. I think we're in episode 3, and it just heats up. I would tell you, if you are at all even a millimeter of a fan of Jersey Shore, you have got to see this. Because it is basically, it's a fun show like that, but it has the, relationship, the up and down, the fighting, the loving, the family aspect that Jersey had. Just instead of it being with East Coast Italian kids, it is basically all kids from the South. But these kids are honest, they're raw, and they do not hold back. And that is the understatement of the century.
And there's one more show that you are working on for Oxygen that looks pretty good. It's called It Takes a Sister.
Oh, my God, I love this show. Okay, so Oxygen called me. There's a girl named Nikki Alexander, and you might remember Nikki. She won the original Flavor of Love back in the day. She dated Shaq forever. And now what Nikki did was she moved to Knoxville, Tennessee to kind of get her life together, open up a fashion store, open up a boutique, and really kind of enjoy. And all of her sisters basically are single moms. All of her sisters and their kids all move in with Nikki, and it definitely takes the saying, it takes a village, to a whole new level. So Nikki, who is the only one without children, her sisters and all their kids move in under one roof. So there's all 5 girls, there's 11 kids, and they're all raising all the kids together. And I would say that there's times that that's a blessing, or there's definitely times that it's a curse.
SallyAnn, many of your contemporaries are doing scripted television as well as unscripted. Case in point is Think Factory Media. Leslie Grief was on our show, the head of that company. He's doing Texas Rising, which premiered last night on History Channel. Would you ever do scripted?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's, we always joke around, listen, I think every genre of TV has its own set of hurdles. I think, I'm sure scripted people think reality is easy and reality people think scripted is easy. But I would kill for the day where if I wrote something on paper and hired someone who was qualified to show up and do it and know that would get done, that would be amazing to me. In the reality world, you could basically, you wind up, I have 8 cameras and 8 people sleeping, or I have 3 cameras and 8 people going all over the town, and I have to figure it out. If you really do a true reality show, it is very hard, and then you're putting together the story after it happens rather than crafting it up front. They both have challenges, but I would love to try the other side.
Anytime soon?
We'll see.
Season 1 of Freak Out wraps tomorrow night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Pacific Time on ABC Family. Check your local news for where ABC Family plays in your area on cable and satellite. You can find more details online about the service at abcfamily.go.com. And The Real comes on daytime over TV stations nationwide and primetime on BET, distributed by Warner Brothers. SallyAnn Salsano, a pleasure to have you on. Let's get you back soon, and all the best with all the shows you're working on, new and coming back this summer and beyond.
Would love to. I couldn't tell you. I would love to.
You got it. Let's make a day. You take care.
Thank you.
SallyAnn Salsano, executive producer in the world of unscripted television, one of the best. She joined us live from Los Angeles.